So welcome back. Keep the energy levels high. It's great to see the level of interest and look forward to a really good panel session after our next two presenters. The first of those is Dr. Baldissera Giovanni. Dr. Giovanni is a research scientist in the field of plant physiology and animal and human health in Italy, France and the USA. Since 2009, he's been managing research in agronomy and supporting researchers obtaining funding from international funders, and now is coordinating activities of more than 70 national funders and research organisations across 5 continents. Dr. Giovanni holds a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biophysics and a master's in economics and management. This afternoon he's presenting on research coordination as an answer to global plant health threats, the case of Xylella fastidiosa. I've been practising all the last 48 hours. Xylella fastidiosa. So would you please welcome Dr. Giovanni.
So, thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to present in front of an audience for a country that values so much biosecurity. So collaboration is intrinsic to research, and researchers have found many ways to collaborate. This goes from exchange of laboratory material, sharing of knowledge and ideas. More and more research articles are published as a result of collaboration between groups in different fields, and center of excellence are being built where people from different backgrounds can work on common problems. Now, all these activities have one main goal, which is to increase the quality of science. The limitation of these is that they are limited to researchers, which are an essential component of the research endeavor, but not the only component. As an administrator, I value very much the role of research funders and policy makers. And so the question is there a tool for improving collaboration for research funders and policymakers, and to make them help and to help them working together with the researchers? And the answer is yes. This is EUFRESCO. So EUFRESCO stands for European Phytosanitary Research Coordination. It's a network initiated in 2006 in Europe. And there are a number of reasons why EUFRESCO was initiated. One of these reasons is that 85% of the research and development activities in Europe are programmed, financed, monitored, and evaluated at national level, which brings to a fragmentation of the European research area. And you may know that we are trying to build a European Union with some success and other mitigated success. And I would like to invite you to read the article that we published last year, where we describe the importance of the nationally funded projects. They are important, and they are indicated as a gold mine because they provide outputs that are very valuable for policymakers. But we also say that as for gold, it's very difficult to find it, and that's why the title is referring to gold mine. So from a European network, EUFRESCO has developed into a global network, which now includes some 70 organizations in 5 continents, and Australia joined in January 2017. And the national contact points is the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources, and this is one of the reasons why I'm presenting here today, to raise the profile of Eufresco in Australia and see how to collaborate at the level of the department and with the Australian researchers. So I've been talking about fragmentation, so how this translates in real problems. So each country has its own national program, which means that there can be duplication of activities. This is obviously a problem when you want to optimize the use of resources. This is a problem because results are not known outside the country funding the project. But there are also fragmentation caused by different administrative procedures, different financial calendars, and also barriers to transnational flow of funding, which prevents money in Australia, for example, to be used to fund research project in France, or vice versa. Eufresco tried to solve all these problems, and the idea is that the coordination can be favored through sharing information and best practice, through the development of a common strategic research agenda, and through transnational research funding. And I will explain one by one what are some of the activities related to this coordination. So in the case of the sharing information, we have developed last year a searchable database with information on national research projects. So you can see, hopefully from the screenshot, that the database works using a number of keywords. This can be the country that has funded the project, or the pest that the project is focusing on, or the research activities, the output. And the database has been now populated with the survey that we conducted in 2015. We got information from approximately 30 countries, so the database is far from being complete, and we will work in the next months and year, because I would say that the work will never stop, to populate the database with all the projects and with future projects. And of course, it will be interesting to have information on the national project funded in Australia. So the case I'm showing here, I put as a keyword Xylella fastidiosa, because obviously it is pertinent for the symposium. And you can see that there are a number of research projects funded on Xylella fastidiosa. And these are the countries funding the project. So I will present one slide for each country, with the exception of Italy, because I think you know enough about research activities in Italy from previous presenters. So in the Netherlands, Peter Bonens and Jan van der Wolf are collecting isolates and infected material, and they are characterizing from a molecular point of view these different isolates, and they are also focusing on diagnostic developments. In Portugal, Paula Sá Pereira is focusing on Portuguese olive cultivars. So what she's studying is the effect of cultivars extract on cell viability and on biofilm formation and stabilization. She's also testing how synthetic peptide can affect cell viability. She's also performing some survey of the vectors that may potentially be present in Portugal. In the UK, John Elphinstone is coordinating a number of activities which are closely related to diagnostics. In Belgium, Martin Mais is studying the development of the disease in local climatic conditions, and she's also studying how the xylem sap composition can trigger the pathogenicity of the bacteria. And then, okay, so there is another project from France, one project coordinated by Marie-Agnès Jacques and the second project coordinated by François Casabianca. So if you want to have more information about this project, do not hesitate to contact the researchers. And you can also put me in copy, and I will ensure that you get an answer back to your request. I've also said that UFresco aims to develop a strategic research agenda. Actually, a research agenda was published in March 2017. So what does it mean, strategic research agenda? So it's a supranational document which has the objective to find and to identify amongst all the different national research agendas the common point, and to build on these common points to set the ground for future collaboration. So you can download the research agenda from the UFresco website, and what I can say is that there are a number of 7 research priorities and 18 research objectives that have been identified. We also identified the research infrastructures that should support these research activities, and we also identified the players at any level, be that funders, researchers, but also the stakeholders, including the private companies, that should be involved in future research activities. And the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources has identified a number of priorities that are also shared by Australia. So I'm really inviting the researchers in Australia to review the agenda and to contact the department and to find the best strategy to address your national priorities within UFresco activities. So UFresco members also fund transnational research projects, and in 2015 there was a project, the PROMOD project, funded on Xylella fastidiosa. So the coordinator is Maria Saponari, and the project focuses on a number of activities. So we saw yesterday the importance of sampling and how sampling should be adapted according to the matrices, and so the consortium is developing sampling methods for symptomatic and asymptomatic plant material, but also for insect vectors. A few research groups are working on the adaptation and optimization of tests, in particular LAMP, digital PCR, next-generation sequencing, MLST, for the diagnosis of Xylella fastidiosa. And there are proficiency tests that are being organized. And there was one proficiency test on plant material organized last year, and we are waiting for the results of this proficiency test. There is a new proficiency test, this time organized on insect sample, that will start in September 2017, so in a few months. There is still time for you to join if you are interested. So I'm really inviting you to contact Françoise Polyakov, who is leading this activity, and put me in copy so we can ensure that you can participate in the proficiency test and to find the best way for you to participate. There is another project on Xylella fastidiosa that has been identified as priorities for funding in 2016. This new project focuses on the vectors. and the coordinator is Fiona Hyatt from Sasa, Scotland. So there are many different activities all around vectors, from survey to diagnostic in vectors to control of vectors. And the project has not started yet because we are waiting for the funding commitment of the coordinator. So the project could start by the end of this year. So there is still time for Australian researchers to join if there is interest in participating in this new project. So these are some other needs that UFRESCO members have identified for future research activities on Xylella fastidiosa. Some perhaps are too much EU-oriented, but some are of interest from a global point of view, I think. So how UFRESCO has been able to set up a system for transnational research funding. We have developed since 2006 procedures that have been tested over a number of annual funding calls, and this is the structure of the annual funding call. So there are a number of different phases that allows different countries and organizations to commit at different times using different approaches. And we also developed a IT infrastructure to manage the transnational research funding. Now, I would say that apart from this procedure and infrastructure, if I could give an advice on people interested in research coordination, I would say that the secret ingredient for a successful research coordination is flexibility, because when you work with different organisms, with different countries, you really have to take into account the diversity of understanding, the diversity of commitment, the diversity in funding that country may have, and so on. And so only the flexibility allows to facilitate these people to work together. So UFRESCO has funded so far more than 70 research projects, and you can find the information on this project on the UFRESCO website. What's important for you to understand is that it's possible for non-UFRESCO members to participate. So the scope of UFRESCO is really to facilitate cooperation independently from membership. And so UFRESCO projects are open to new members, provided that the research activities proposed fit within the framework proposed by UFRESCO funders, and provided that researchers come with their own funds to cover the cost of the contribution. So what are the benefits from participating in such transnational research activities? So I see two types of benefit from the researcher point of view: capacity building, and from the funder point of view, optimization of the resources. And again, we are looking for collaboration with researchers in Australia in future research activities. And to conclude, since the very beginning, UFRESCO has supported an open access policy. So all the activities funded through UFRESCO are funded with public money. So it's important that the outputs are available to the citizens. And so the idea is that all the scientific reports are in general published and available to everybody. This is of course agreed with the researchers and with the funders, and in case there are publications or IP issues, the publication of the report can be delayed. But we now know that scientific reports are just one of the output of research activities, probably the main one, but not the only one. Data are a very valuable output, especially if we think about reusing this data for other activities. So it's always about optimizing the use of resources. And so we start working on a project about opening data. And I'm not going to give you the explanation why open data is important. Australia has been a leading country on the open data movement since the 1980s. And so I think there is here a way for another door for collaboration. We have been working on this project in the framework of the X Factor project. So we got some European money to develop our UFresco project. The idea is to develop a prototype, a portal to ease the access to research data on Xylella fastidiosa. The portal will also ease the access to documents. And the portal will be ready by November 2017, and from the experience we are gaining, we will then broaden the portal to all regulated and emerging pests. So the idea is that our portal will become the main gateway to access research data on plant health. And I can say to conclude that will not just be a portal, but I have to keep something secret for the future. Thank you very much for your attention.